Hello everyone, I hope you're doing really well today for something a little bit different, but what I hope should be really cool. So this started a few days ago. As you know, I take valued viewer requested questions, investigate them and make small videos about them. And the question that you guys asked was, can you investigate / recreate around Sweden where the Ja-37 vegans were Mach, if you like, intercepting SR-71? So of course the first thing I do when you guys request something is I jump in Google, hit SR-71 versus Ja-37. The first thing that comes up is this video here, and it was just a video that really caught my eye. The actual video I'm not actually that interested in. I don't find it particularly, I mean, it's a great production, I found it great, but the actual realism, which is kind of what we're into, is, as you know, it's kind of a Hollywoodized kind of version of the incident. But what really caught my eye was a little intro that the guys put on at the beginning, talking about the making of the video and all the work that they went into making this kind of as their kind of university project. I just find it fascinating, and I've had a really kind of weird life myself, if anyone knows about me, and I'm quite good at kind of finding kind of interesting people. And this chap here, Franz, I just saw and I thought, oh, I've got to contact him just for a chat about the video. He was very kindly, he replied, he said, yep, and so here we are now. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you guys a stripped down version of the Mach 3 video. If you want to go and watch the full thing, I will supply you with the URL and you can go and look at that. And then we'll come back and talk to Dan.
What's up, folks? I'm Franz.
And I'm Andy Kager.
And we're the directors of Mach 3.
So as you may know, we've been making a 1980s fighter jet short film for a while now.
And to bring you up to speed, here's a little recap from the beginning. We start in the summer of 2013. So we want to make a fighter jet film. In the fall, we spend a month making a CGI concept film just to see if we can even render CGI planes. We could. Then we spend the winter prevising the film, twice. Once in a living room, once on top of a parking garage. Start calling aviation museums to see if we can film in an SR-71. We find one 3 hours away from Savannah, and we drive out to Warner Robins. We tried shooting an actual SR-71, and we were in way over our heads. Tested shooting a blue screen against one of the cockpits they had in the museum. It seemed like it was gonna work. We finished writing the script, found a couple of Swedish kids down the street, and cast one as our main talent.
Kontroll! Nästan där! Ligger på gränsen! Mach 1.8!
We had him teach one of our other friends how to speak Swedish. We load up a van, grab all our friends, grab all the gear the college has, and shoot for 2 days. We bring that footage back, start cutting on top of our previs, piecing the film together. Then we realize we need inserts. We head back to the museum again, and we shoot as many inserts as we can get. Shoot gauges, levers, hands. We look at that footage, realize we need more. Drive 6 hours back to the museum and spend a whole nother day, and a speeding ticket later we've got all of our inserts.
Last time here,
there we go.
ever.
Ever.
We piece that together and decide that we should shoot a Kickstarter. We've still got a long way to go and we've only got half the film done. We shoot a Kickstarter and start building photoreal models in Maya from scratch. Then we go to Atlanta and cast our American pilots. We hire a production designer and start building our own SR-71 cockpit. We hit the junkyards, we buy cardboard, we start building the thing. We realize there is no way we're going to get this thing finished before our shoot. We start working on it 24/7. We sleep in shifts, and we eventually finish it the night before in Andy's living room.
Oh, it's a little more rigid too.
That actually looks pretty real.
Now we're on the studio stage, shooting our American interiors in our SR-71 cockpit. It's the biggest crew we've ever worked with, and it goes off without a hitch. No hiccups at all.
Oh, is it like stuff?
It's the wood that's getting stuck, right? Let me go grab the sander.
I already think this is gonna end bad.
Okay, well then don't do it.
The slimmest thing possible. Well, that kind of sucked.
Where's the saw? The good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah. I think the sawzall would be over.
Look at the fence.
Well, look at that. Oh, whoa.
Just do it all. Just break it. We're done with this. Cut.
Alright, we're done. We cut the film. We shoot the Kickstarter again. This is the Kickstarter for Mach 3, our 1980s aviation. I spent weeks shooting plates of clouds on top of parking garages, building a library to put the planes into. We finished the trailer, released the Kickstarter, and more than double our goal. Full-on post-production starts. We have 113 visual effects shots, 50 of which are full CG. We previs all the shots twice. First time using scale models, second time in Maya. We build an entire CG cockpit to extend our aviation museum cockpit. Sound design starts, we compose an original score for the film. A year goes by. We spend countless nights and every waking moment trying to put CGI fighter planes into the sky. we graduate, fully intending to finish the film. Our team splits up across the US, getting their dream jobs. Pixar, The Mill, Method, MPC, but reality sets in. The software we built our planes to render in is literally discontinued. Other opportunities come flooding in, despite the fact that our fighter jet film has yet to see the light of day. We weren't gonna accept anything lesser than a Hollywood level frame, and that's why it took so long, because we had a level of perfection that we just couldn't hit on the time frame that we gave ourselves.
The edit is completely assembled, the sound design is mostly complete, the visual effects aren't exactly there.
Vi får upp till vänster, eller?
Om du kan bättre då.
Jävlar, Felix. Ser du det där?
Får jag se det? Är det mig?
Kanske en flanker?
Det är ingen mig, det är alldeles för snabbt.
Kontrollkontrollen har fanns från det American SR-71 batterihugo är bakom mig.
Tillåt oss att möta inkräktaren.
Nej, Vostok 4. Over.
Uppfattat markkontrollen. Foxtrot 19, duckar.
Fan är det? Jag tar upp jakten.
Det är inte kärpet detta.
Hey, Walt, say you think you can bump this sled up a notch or two? Godfather wants us 3 down and locked by 1400.
Sure can, cowboy.
Vi fick turbulens på 12K. Håller kursen men stiger lite till. Mach exploderar! Vi kommer behöva köra på hårdare för att kunna ge skjuta de jävla jänkarna.
Confirm visual. Copy that. Stand by for visual. Walt, Godfather reads 2 hostiles on the scopes. Do you see anything out front?
I say again, we're 21 clicks up bearing 255.
I see them. 2 commies climbing our altitude.
Can't be. We just cleared Soviet airspace. We're headed for Sweden.
Well, they sure as hell ain't Swedes.
Verkar som det motorn lagt av. Nej! Vandrarskalla! Jättebra, rätt klar där! Sätt gasen, ska ni inte skjuta ut det nu? Skjuta ut dig! Hugo, skjuter fan ut dig! Hugo! Nej!
Godfather, we have a clear visual. 1 bogey down. At current airspeed, we will intercept in T-minus 1 minute.
Maintain course. If evasion is necessary, push to Mach 3.
Copy that. Walt, punch it. We're going to Mach 3.
Thought you'd never ask.
Kontroll, nästan där, ligger på gränsen. Mach 1.8, 21 000 meter upp. Ser dem rakt bakom mig. En amerikansk etta! Kontroll! Hör du mig?
Walking inbound. Brace for intercept.
It is the Swedes.
Den är mindre än 1 kilometer bakom mig. Jag har fritt läge. Tillåtet att ingripa.
We got a 6-stroke. He's got radar lock. Should I deploy ECM? I'm gonna jam his radar.
Hold it. Not until he fires. Stand by. Punch it at full throttle. Let's see what this sled can do.
Jag har en lås på honom. Men bara för några få sekunder till då. Tillåt oss skjuta. Mitt läge försvinner. Kontroll! Snälla, svara!
Mach 3.6. Come on, baby. Just a little bit more. That's a new world speed record. God bless America.
Jag ingriper. Kapaciteten osäkrad. Redo att avfyra.
We'll be out of range in 15 seconds. 10 seconds. 7, 6, 3, 2. We're out of range. You can throttle her back now, Walt. At this rate, we'll pass Houston in an hour.
Dan, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, wonderful. How are you?
Quite well.
So, this was started in 2013. Could you tell this video? Can you tell us about how you got this video started, and why you chose aviation, SR-71, and so on?
Yeah. Well, I'm stoked to finally be able to chat about this because I did start it back in 2013 and always wanted to do some sort of action aviation based film. Obviously a big Top Gun fan, and I had seen there was another film called the German. I'm not sure if anyone had seen it. It's a World War II aviation film, but I'd seen that, and I was just kind of in love with the idea of doing a short film in airplanes entirely in the sky. So then this kind of was born out of just searching around, doing something with the SR-71 is, obviously it's an attractive topic, right?
Yeah.
And I had actually run into, I don't know if you're familiar with Brian Schul, one of the pilots. He's got like a...
Yeah, absolutely. I've watched loads of his podcast/video things that he's done, yeah.
Yeah, right. So at the time, this was 2013, and I had just found this book, like a PDF copy of, I forget what the book's called, but I had read through that PDF, and there was so many cool pieces in there that I was like, all right, I have to do an SR-71 piece. And then I started, searching around as to what the conflict in the film could be, and I ran into the story about the Vigans intercepting the SR. At the time, this was back in 2013. It's funny to see now how well publicized that story has become, and now there's interviews with the actual pilots, and there's a lot to actually dig into the actual the conflict. When I started making the film, all I had to go off of was like a single forum post on I forget what aviation forum it was, but it was the only thing I could find back in 2013 about the story. So I just kind of took this, what was basically a paragraph explaining the actual incident, and blew it up into the film that you guys see. So it's funny to see so many people jumping into it and shredding it, because it's obviously not accurate. But at the time, like, we had nothing to really go off of other than I was going off of like a paragraph on a website.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point, because kind of the group that I come from, or the community, whatever you want to call it, it's all about kind of military accuracy, keeping everything accurate, simulated and stuff like that. And I can see obviously lots of nasty comments. To be honest, exactly the same kind of stuff that we like to Hollywoodize and sex things up a bit, and we get in trouble a lot. But yeah, I never thought. Now, we don't have the excuse, because we're in 2019, 2020, when anything is available anywhere, as you know. I can know, what, I don't know, leggings someone's wearing in China or something. Everything is on the internet. But back then, like you said, it just wasn't a publicized incident. So you just did whatever you thought, your version of it, basically, I guess.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And it's funny to think that it's 7 years ago, it's that much of a difference, but it actually is. Like when I was first jumping into it, there just wasn't that much information on the incident that I could find. So yeah, it's fully Hollywooded up, like you say.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Like we do the same. I like to quote Top Gun things up. That is turn it from not the original wasn't boring per se, but it's nothing like our big flames and afterburners and missiles and stuff like that. It's just a relative. And I like to add a bit of Tom Cruise half naked kind of thing and just sex it up a little bit for the viewers.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm totally with you.
And it brings in a really interesting point. And I don't know if you followed aviation at all since then, but you've brought a really good point in how nowadays and increasingly how accessible, just like you said, those incidents weren't really talked about at all, apart from maybe a book here and there. But now you've got fighter pilot podcasts where guys talk about like literally the intricate details of dogfights they had against MiGs and stuff like that, even relatively new stuff that you should be classified. We've got recently retired modern fighter pilots literally talking about their time when they were training and stuff like that. It's so open now on the internet. To be honest, I'm absolutely amazed they can get away with it. Maybe it's simply the problem is that it's so, so many people do it that they just don't try to block it anymore. I really don't know how it is, but yeah, it really accessible nowadays, isn't it?
It's wild. Yeah, that's a great point. It really is. I feel like it has certainly blown up maybe just in the last 5 years or so. There's just a lot more info to dig into, isn't there?
Roger.
The story behind this is that they actually several times got successful intercepts with the SR-71 and could have shot it down if they wanted to.
It's slightly different. So in the film, they're on the gun sites and they're close. What actually happens? You've got we redid this. We did a real version of this in DCS with the almost.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong, real quick. But I have it backwards, right? The planes converge. Yeah,
so
exactly.
I thought, what, did I just see that? Or but anyway, it doesn't matter.
It was a head-on intercept.
Well, the thing you learned from young was if you shake the camera about enough, no one notices, so it's perfect. So
look,
because they're coming at each other so fast. That Viggen's Mach 2.8 to 3.2. Sorry, other way around. The SR-71. The Viggen's up to getting close to Mach 2. The reality of it is incredibly unsexy. All you've got is a dot on the radar scope that's very slowly, it looks like it's slowly getting closer. In fact, it's getting closer really quickly. You actually start the intercept about 200 miles away, which if you think 200 miles, that's, well, in England, I know America's big, but in England, that's like right across England. That's where we start the intercept. And we timed it was like 4 minutes or something, trying to attain a radar lock. All you see is the blip. You never really see the actual aircraft. At some point, you might get what the CCIP, the computer, tells you is a correct solution, and the missile could possibly hit like that. Okay, so that's as far as the Viggen's got. On their radar scope, it calculates, okay, I think the missile can hit. And we reenacted that as best we could. We had to use an F-14B for it, which is a kind of contemporary aircraft of the Ja-37, and we nerfed it down to the almost correct missiles. And we got to what the computer said, yep, you can hit this SR-71. Interestingly, if the SR-71 even changed slightly left or right or up or down, then the shot was lost. However, the Viggens obviously never fired because they weren't at war. We did do the firing because it's a video game, and nothing hit. So bearing in mind the game we use is a game, but it's considered as close as you get to real life. None of these missiles even came close. Reasons, probably the programming in them in the game and in the real life is just not, can't keep up with Mach 5 closure rate. Crazy things it has to do in its little brain to keep up with that. And they didn't hit, did they, RC? Even though they should have. They're well within envelope.
Nope. Didn't hit.
Yeah. So.
Where'd you go?
Oh man, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I went to school at SCAD. It's a college art design.
Chicago.
It's in Georgia actually. But
it's in Georgia. Okay.
Yeah, man, that makes me feel a lot better about my Hollywooding of it.
Absolutely.
Just a black dot on the scope.
This is why we always get in trouble for sexing things up, because the reality is a lot of warfare is tens of miles away. You never even see a dot. You never even see a puff of smoke if you blow something up. You got a blip here and a blip there, and there's no sexiness. There's no shaky camera. It's just beep, beep, fire button, beep, turn away, beep, beep. Is he dead? Beep. Come and land. It's like, I mean, that's how you do it, but it's not going to sell many videos. So you sometimes
man,
sometimes you got to put your smoke in and your shaky camera and your big loud boomy effects, just like you did on yours, and that makes a good video. Just don't take it too seriously, and you're fine. Same with all aviation movies. Don't take it too seriously.
You didn't really want to have a video where that Viggen gets all the way up there and the SR-71 turns right 2 degrees.
2 degrees, yeah, because the reality is the Rio.
Because if they would have turned, it would have been over.
Well, yeah, exactly. The black guy in the rear would have gone, okay, if I just have 1.234, let me get my calculus out, 1.23459 degrees, and then increase the speed, which would have been a throttle change of about 1 micron, then we'll evade that missile by 2.59 miles. Okay, Rio. Does it? Nothing changes.
They missed their intercept by 100 miles.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Exactly.
Oh,
so,
man. Yeah, that would be a very different film.
Yeah. So.
You know, it's funny you say it's just a black dot, too, because I'm just having a flashback to rendering the actual SR in the HUD of the Viggen. And just, I remember as soon as I had the 2 planes animated to fly at a certain rate, right? So I started out trying to be realistic, and I looked at it in the HUD, and it was like, you can't even see the thing on screen.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. No, that's how it is in real life, unfortunately.
Yeah, very good.
If I may ask a question, I've started to watch the 15-minute long video itself, and I saw one of the comments down there talking about one of the real life examples that happened with the Viggen. They had SR-71 was doing that same route again, and this one ended up having an engine, I believe it was an engine failure is what they called it. Yeah, pretty much the engine lost power. And it was actually the same set of Viggens that were meant to intercept it actually flew up with it and escorted it.
How about that?
Because they were asking in there, is like, would you do it almost seems like they were asking, would you do a video of that too?
I mean, to be fair, that is actually a lot more interesting, realistically, than fire. Because the problem with the SR-71 is it had 2 thumping great engines, and it's an all or nothing plane. There's no safety in there. It's go very fast or die. And the engine nacelles are very far apart. And so if one failed, and they did, they compressor stalled all the time. If one failed and the guy left high or full power on the other one, the plane would yaw to the left or the right, it would spin out of control, and everything would be vaporized on board. And you had to listen, because the only way you could tell where the engine was going, where it was about to stall, was listen. And I remember from Schultz, I think this was, or a vibration in your arse, realize what's going on, shut the surviving engine down a bit, so we didn't have this yaw action in time to save the thing. And just imagine taking your car to work, and just imagine it had two engines, and if one shut down accidentally, then you've got to shut the other one down within like a few microseconds, or you're going to vaporize. It's like, who flies that thing? It's just like proper hero shit. It's ridiculous. Anyway, and yeah, there was loads, and I'm sure lots crap. I mean, a third of these, was it a third or 2/3? Either a third or 2/3, I think, crashed because of things like that. It was so finely tuned, like a finely tuned bodybuilder, like we talked about earlier, that one tiny little error, and then it's all over. So
there's like multiple occasions after every flight that they would have to come down and get repaired for about a week before they would even go back up again, because things would shed off the shell of it.
Yeah, every time they went Mach 3, which is normal, you know, they quite happily pop around at Mach 3 plus around in the States, and they would come back, and I remember the titanium survived it on their nose but got bent out of shape, and they would come back with ugly duckling noses, and the mechanics literally hammered this titanium nose back into shape. I mean, it's such a crazy design, but also shows what was possible back in the 60s, right? I mean, it really is amazing.
If you think about it, back in the 60s, they could make a plane that could go Mach 3. If you think about it nowadays, they could make something so much better. Nowadays, thinking about how much technology has advanced since.
I don't know. The world's changed. It's all Greta Thunberg nowadays. I don't know if we're going back to. I mean, just think, England had.
How dare you?
Our high-speed vehicles are now in space. That's what they're doing with their surveillance now. It's all in space. It's like a mini space shuttle, and it does like Mach 5, and you know
the X-37B, I think is what it's called.
Like that, yeah. It flies in space.
Yeah, I mean, flying in space is a lot easier than flying at Mach 3 in the 100,000 feet. We used to have for 30 years or so, or whatever, we had Concorde. And it sounds so weird thinking about it now, but back in the 70s, 80s, we had Concorde. We could go to New York from here at above Mach 2. Like, it sounds so weird now, doesn't it?
currently working on a project to bring another supersonic transport aircraft back to civilian side. It's, what was it, NASA's project? I think it's called pretty much the Quiet Supersonic Transport Aircraft. I forget the exact lettering for it, but they're working on trying to make it to where they can go, because the biggest limit for it was they could only go supersonic over the ocean. They couldn't do it over land. Yeah. So they're trying to do it to where now they can do supersonic over land and do that. And it's another fun fact I saw for the 71 that I was trying to say earlier was the SR-71, they took all the paperwork drawing that they did for it, and they threw it into a CAD computer to actually and see if they could improve it in any way. And the CAD software wasn't able to make any recommendations to make it better than what it was.
Really? That's insane.
So you did this as your kind of uni thing. So how does that work then? They say you're there for so many years, and they say you build a video. How does it work in terms of the education?
Yeah. The school that I went to, most kids walked away with like a senior sort of thesis project, which inevitably is your big magnum opus short film, which is always a recipe for disaster when you've got amateur filmmakers. But this project, our project in particular, I started it just in it was like a CG 101 class. It was actually a modeling class. So the project just started off as, okay, model an object. And I had a friend of mine model the SR, and I did the Vigan, and then we threw those into Maya and made a little short film. And then that little short film kind of acted as a test to go, could we shoot some green screen? Could we build on this idea and make this into a proper film? And this was beginning of 2013, and then it kind of snowballed into, let's keep going, and without us knowing exactly how much work goes into making something like that. And then, fast forward, it took my entire college career to even get the thing in spitting distance of completion, and then even then, it kind of was shelved for like a year or two as I would just chip away at it. I really didn't understand how much work went into building an aviation short film.
And I bet every big director, producer, or whatnot, it started off in a similar way. They thought, oh, I know, I've got to try and make this little video. And then there's that realization of how hard making things is. We're talking about videos and stuff like that. And by no means, don't think that I'm any kind of amazing video maker. I'm not. I shoot videos of video games and glorify video gamer, really. But I do understand the amazing amount of work and time it takes to make something good. And in your case, we see you visiting the museum, and it's great that you got access and stuff like that. And how much work and how many times you have to go back, and you think you've got enough footage and you haven't. And it's supposed to be the same in professional movies as well. You're going to see it, and you watch it for 2 hours, and you think, cool movie, I'm going to forget about it now. What you don't see is that, thousands of tens of thousands of man hours of every single piece being put together, the amount of time and work. And I really, the thing I liked about this video is that you really highlighted that. To make a 6-minute video, all right, it's not very accurate, but that's not the point of it. I thought the in cockpit shots, the facial shots and stuff like that, I thought they were really good, kind of bearing on professional. I thought that was really good. Music, tempo, everything was top notch. And just the amount of work that went on behind it. The years, you said.
Yeah, it's true. It is really absurd when you step away from it and look at it, and it's a 6-minute clip, and it's like how many hours were pumped into it. I have no idea. By not just me, by a whole team of people. Takes a village sort of thing. I have a good filmmaker friend of mine sums up filmmaking by saying it's basically bodybuilding. You spend your entire life working on this one thing, and then you get up on stage and flex for 2 minutes, and then that's it. That's it. So it's some madness, but it's a lot of fun.
Roger. You said you had a team. How did you come about that team? Are they just friends, or this is good?
Yeah, it was a mix of because it took film kids to actually shoot the thing. When the cameras are rolling, green screens, lighting, all that good stuff. And then the vast majority of what took so long, shooting was one thing, but the visual effects just took forever. We had to build everything from scratch, from like literally modeling the Vigan from scratch, and the SR and texturing and all that. So I think there was probably about maybe 15 to 20 folks that had a hand in it in one way or the other on the visual effects side, and then production actually shooting the thing was probably about 30 at the end of the day. So it was an absurd amount of people, because sometimes somebody would just put in, they'd give me like 2 hours working on a shot, or here or there, and it's just kind of it all built up. And the other thing that is interesting is we had to build those. We were filming in the museum, as you mentioned, for the cockpit interiors, and the SR-71 cockpit we subbed in there was an F-15 Eagle cockpit that we shot that out in, and then the Vigan cockpit was shot out in a F-105 Thunder Chief.
Yeah, we saw.
So it's like, it's like the two don't match at all, right? No. So we had to model the F-105 Thunder Chief cockpit into the Vigan, build some sort of like Frankenstein thing so that the CG models of the Vigan would line up with our Thunder Chief cockpit. So that was like a whole project in and of itself, of going like, okay, we need to kind of morph the Vigan cockpit and turn this bit green so that it can bleed into the rest of it. It was so there's all sorts of just little things like that along the way that we ran into trying to even shoehorn the thing together.
Roger. I mean, you're not the only one. We do kind of video, I don't know, you want to call it Hollywood film debunking, and we just do purely looking at, because obviously our expertise is these different aeroplanes, their cockpits, the buttons and switches, the systems and stuff like that. And we love going on to, I mean, there's been so many aviation movies. You think there might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are tens or more of Hollywoodized kind of aviation movies out there, and we love looking at the freeze frame it in the kind of cockpit scene where the heroes switching buttons and stuff like that. And 100% every single film that's out there is complete BS. To like, what was that really good one we found? Clear and Present Danger the other day. The guy was about to drop the bomb on, I don't know, Admiral Aladdin's house or whatever, and he was just switching knobs, and we could literally see by all the stuff that was up, he was sitting on the ground with the engines off. It was literally there, blatant to see to anyone that actually wanted to, you obviously put, 99.9% of people don't see that stuff, obviously. They just see a cockpit and some buttons, and it doesn't really matter. But it's great that you went into the effort of making all that stuff. And like I said, the quality was really top notch as well. I mean, it must really hurt you to think now that 2020 we're in now, and we're at the point now with our simulators. We use DCS, and there are other simulators out there, but because gaming has got so good now, we're nearly, our graphics, if we turn them up to the top and we've got a really good computer, you're nearly up to kind of Hollywood CG quality just with a game. So you can almost do your cutscenes with basically zero work, zero effort, zero money. Isn't it crazy how it's got like that?
Oh man, it's mad. Yeah, because I watched your DCS videos, and that was the first thought that I had, was like, oh my god, like this isn't that far away from, just being able to pop a CG camera in there, and then there's your shot, instead of building it from scratch.
All that work. And I go back to the days thinking the actual 1986 Top Gun, the expense it would have taken, and they literally were, there was no CG back then. This was, well, not really, and this was strapping cameras onto F-14s, which are just the most incredibly expensive vehicles to run in the world. If you go back and look at the maths and how God knows who paid for this, I can't believe the film ever made any money. And they're twisting and doing dangerous stuff and stuff like that with all these cameras attached to them. I thought, how? We're back in the day, could you do that kind of thing? It's absolutely amazing. I mean, yeah,
it's insane, and you're shooting 35mm, no less. You don't even know what you're getting. You just have a vague idea until you get the thing printed.
I know,
it is insane.
You just look back and think the tools that they had. How do you do some of the stuff? And those, even when you watch them back now, you've got to make some allowances, obviously, and it's not 1080p and blah blah blah. But it's amazing, really, the work that they did. But that's just what they had at the time, and that was just normal to them, right?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
had 18 cameras filming one scene.
18 cameras filming one scene. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, you're doing that flyby, and there's a lot of money in the sky right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, one chance, exactly. Okay, I'll finish my spiel, and then I'll hand it over to the boys and see what they need to ask. So, give us a clue of just in your life, because as soon as I saw this, I thought, oh, he's going to be the next Spielberg at some point. He's going to be shooting Top Gun. What are we on now? 3 or whenever the next one's going to come out, and tell us where you are now and your aspirations and so on.
Yeah, my end goal is just getting into narrative filmmaking. Just shooting actual stories that people want to watch. Currently, I work as a commercial cinematographer, so I'm behind the camera shooting commercials most of the time. which is fun and all. But when the ads come up on YouTube, I skip them as quick as anyone else. So
yeah.
So yeah, just looking forward to shooting more narrative-based films. I mentioned I was right before this. I was in Colombia before the virus broke out, prepping a Vietnam War film that takes place entirely in the trenches, the sort of like Coochie tunnel system. So I was excited for that. Yeah, so just hoping to basically make more action films.
Great,
more
sounds
concept.
good. And advertising is a great thing to start with. A lot of the directors that I've followed have this is where you start making adverts, you get noticed, and bish bash bosh, you're making your own movie before you know it.
You're looking to just do DP work, or are you going to go on and do other?
Yeah, a bit of both. I mean, I'm most at home working as a DP, and honestly, problem solving through VFX. So my whole spiel is that I've got a background in VFX, so I try to combine, the back end post production side of things with what can be done in production. So I'm trying to work basically more as a DP, but I've worked recently. I did like a miniature shoot, for instance, where we were doing a monster film, and we built like a scale miniature to basically shoot as our monster, as opposed to doing it in CG. So I'm trying to like find these sort of visual effects heavy projects where I can work super closely with the director to kind of like marry what can be done in post-production and production to get sort of a new look. I mean, there's a lot of films out there that are Interstellar's one, where a lot of their spacecraft were done, largely with miniatures and CG just occasionally. So I'm really trying to like dig into that niche and basically marry post-production and actual production.
I think
wherever I can with.
I think there's a big craving for the old school effects. Obviously, CG has its place, but I think it got a bit too heavy at one point. That's what I saw anyway, and I just got fed up with it. And I love a film when they make the effort now to put the actual, the real video in.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
think you can tell at a certain point, because as soon as it's CG and you have a giant like Avengers sweeping camera move, it's like, oh, I know what you did.
It doesn't feel right, does it? It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, it's like you just spent all that. You can tell that you just went to the computer and dropped 1,000 man hours into it, and there's your shot. So trying to, dig into the more photographic approach to VFX.
I'll tell you one interesting thing I've seen. I haven't been watching a lot of films lately. I've been really busy with GR and just all sorts of stuff. And I've seen a popular theme in a fashionable thing to do in a lot of movies. I saw this film, I can't remember what it's called, about an assassin or something. And it must have been a full 10-minute action scene. So kind of James Bond action scene, car crashes, guns, grenades, all the cool shit, while moving about through this city. And the whole thing was blended somehow, so it looked like there was just one rolling camera filming the whole thing. Obviously, this isn't possible. Have you ever seen anything like that, or had any involvement, or even know what I mean?
Yeah. I've worked on. Well, that's the thing, is the one take. Is like that's what's hot right now, both in the commercial world and the narrative world. It's like everything has to be one seamless take. And yeah, I've actually worked on a short film that was that. It was like a 10-minute seamless thing. And yeah, it's often, you choreograph your giant action piece, and you kind of pick and choose, okay, here the camera's going to pan off, or here we're going to tilt down, or here this will wipe screen. And you build in these sort of like cut points, so you make it through a big chunk of it, and then, you have something wipe the frame, and that's your edit that you can mash 2 shots together in post. Yeah, that's it's almost like, I feel like that started off, if in my personal opinion, I feel like that certainly started off coming from a good place, because the old Spielberg films always had some sort of big oneer every once in a while, but now it's almost just kind of like showing off a bit.
Yeah,
like,
this was too much in this movie, because it was a really cool action scene, but all I could think was, how did they get that camera there? How did they get that there? Where's that blend? And stuff like that. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but...
Yeah. No, I mean, folks are getting really good at it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Anyone else got any other questions where we got Dan on? Otherwise, we'll let you go and get on with your whatever you're doing now with coronavirus on. Probably not very much at the moment, like most people.
Yes, script writing, staring at the page.
There it is, doing the artistic bit. Right, yeah, thank you very much for that. And we'll see you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Dan.
I appreciate it. Thanks
Cheers,
for giving
Dan.
me a shot to talk about the project.
Cheers.
Take it easy.
Bye.